Hello again, welcome back to Ian's Evil Lair. I have a suspicion I'm going to regret naming it that, but anyway, seems the first video went down quite well, so I'm going to record another one for you. This time I'm going to be covering something that I invented a number of years ago. I get the comment about the mad inventor, and because it's already in place I'll run through the parts of how to make it rather than actually physically putting it together. Right, before we get started, I've got another suggestion I'd like to put forward for anybody who wants to contribute to Newton Arms TV. I think it'd be interesting if we could have a video of the nature of this area, the wildlife around Newton Hill. If anything, maybe at sea, the seals, dolphins, all the bird life we have around here, or perhaps you get something interesting in your back garden. I've recently seen badgers, deer, hedgehogs and foxes. So if anybody's got any footage, you can get in contact with Rob or myself and we can deal with editing it through into something that can be put on Newton Arms TV a bit later on. So, on with the subject. What's today's subject? What is the best and occasionally the worst thing about living in Newton Hill? Close proximity to the sea. Spectacular sea views for quite a lot of the people in the village. And why is that a problem occasionally? Well, those lovely storms in the winter that manage to make salt spray all over the place and mean that your windows you can't see out of within a matter of hours. That lovely nice salt crust that I'm sure most of us are familiar with. Now, most normal people, I'm sure, not as lazy as me, would probably just get the hosepipe out and give the windows a clean. I decided to go a bit of a step further and I have designed and built a self-washing window system. It is a little bit over the top, I'll admit that, but I tell you what, press one button and it washes your windows for you. This might sound a bit complicated, but it's actually a very simple project to build. You need some plumbing parts and some sprays, and then there's a second part of the system which is the electronics and the valves, and I'll come back to them in a minute because they're inside the house. What I've got on all my windows around the house is these 15mm standard plumbing pipes, and inserted into them these tiny little spray nozzles. These are irrigation nozzles. You get the green ones, these spray out at 90 degrees, and these ones I personally prefer, the yellow ones, they're 180 degree spray. When you press the button inside, you get fresh water flow from inside the house and it comes out these spray nozzles. So, how do you use it? Simple as this. Doorbell push by each of the windows of the house, push the button and the windows start washing themselves. And I can tell you from experience, I've got these valves set at 1 minute, and that's usually enough to clear off most of the salt on the windows, leaving you with a fairly clean window. There is one tiny problem with the set of windows I've chosen to show you, is it's a very bad idea to step out of the door while the sprays are on, so I'm going to have to wait a minute before I carry on. Okay, so you like the idea. If you want to construct one of these yourself, most of the parts you can get off B&Q or off the internet. You'll need 15mm pipe, preferably straight bits. You can get it on a coil as well, but if you use straight bits it stays better and straight across the window. You're also going to need a load of standard push-fit pipe fittings. Here's an example, push-fit pipe fitting, just locks together, and then you can turn each piece if you need to adjust the nozzles. The other stuff you might want to consider, the tricky part with this project, is tying into your household fresh water system. If you're lucky, you've got a point where you can do that with just using fittings. Otherwise you might want to consider or a plumber or one of these. This is a special fitting you can buy from B&Q that clamps around an existing pipe, and then when you tighten it up it actually punctures through the pipe and gives you a supply to the tap. Not sure whether I trust one of these yet. I've not used one before, and the other small problem I can see with it is it's got quite a small cutting nozzle, which means the water flow through here is not going to be that great, so I don't know how well they'd work. I guess you'd probably need to consult with a professional plumber if you wanted assistance in tying into a household system. Okay, a bit more of a squeeze now. We're in the eave space at the front of the house. This is what I want to show you. This is the controllers for the wash system. This is actually for the front of the house. We've got one on the upstairs window and one on the downstairs window. Fairly simple again, normal plumbing parts. This is the supply comes in from the house, just a cold fresh water supply. blowing T-pieces at right angles. What you've got here and here are solenoid valves from a washing machine. You can buy them off eBay. You can buy them with the right size fittings that you want to use, and they only cost about £4 or £5 each. In the box here, I'll zoom into that so we can get a closer view, is the timer boards. Okay, so we've zoomed in on the board. All this is mounted to a wooden plate, so you can use decent pipe clips, hold everything in place. In the centre here, there's a waterproof plastic box. I put it in there just in case anything leaks, with 2 timer circuit boards on. These boards are widely available off eBay, and they cost about £3 or £4 each. There's quite a lot of wires there. It looks complicated, but it's actually relatively simple. Each of the boards has an input on one side for a switch, so my doorbell pushes as wired on one side, and then you supply 12 volts to it that controls the board or powers the board, and also there's a relay on the board so you can output that 12 volts to the solenoid. So it's quite simple. Press the button, timer starts, relay opens, puts power to the solenoid, and that then opens and allows water to flow through. So while it looks like there's a lot of wires, remember there's 2 boards in there, and so these wires will be the ones going off to the doorbell switches, and then at the bottom there is a small computer power supply that powers the whole lot, both boards and all of the solenoids. Okay, so I hope you've liked my latest video. If not, I am prepared, and maybe there'll be more to come in the future. See you soon.